Welcome, friend. Today, we're taking a bit of a different look.
Yeah.
Not so much outwards in the markets, the
Mhm.
economy, but really deeply inwards. We're exploring this profound, sometimes uncomfortable
Yeah.
link between our inner state, our inner life, and our financial reality.
Yes.
We're asking a pretty radical question, I think. What if the main source of our financial struggles isn't really the external world? What if it's the landscape of our own minds?
It really does demand a shift in how we see things, a big pivot. We start with this core idea. Money is fundamentally like a mirror.
A mirror.
Yes. But not just any mirror. It doesn't just reflect passively, it shows us exactly what we're holding inside. And crucially, it reflects what is actually there, not what we wish was there, Our beliefs, our fears, those deep, unexamined illusions.
That's interesting, because we're so conditioned, aren't we? To look outside for reasons. Bad luck, the wrong timing, investment.
External factors.
But this wisdom we're exploring today suggests something else. That our capacity for, financial success or even failure, for peace or suffering around money, it's actually rooted in our relationship to all those external things. It reminds me of that ancient idea that everything we are is basically the result of what we thought. Our inner world creates the outer.
Precisely. Think about it like a vibration. If we're constantly putting out a frequency of shame or scarcity or anxiety, well, money can't really echo back abundance or security. It can't, because that inner signal it's fractured. Imagine a perfectly still pond, right at dawn. When your inner world is calm, settled, the reflection in your financial life, it's clear, purposeful. It shows you the truth of things, but without adding judgment.
Okay, but let's be real. The world is chaotic. It's easy to talk about a still pond, but for most of us, a sudden bill arrives, a huge expense, the market tanks.
Right.
That throws a massive stone into the water, doesn't it? So how can we possibly keep that stillness when things outside are genuinely stressful, turbulent even?
Well, the stillness isn't about pretending the storm isn't happening. It's about not becoming the storm yourself.
I see.
When that external event, that insecurity, throws the stone, yes, the ripples distort the reflection. Of course they do. You might look at your bank balance and just see chaos, but maybe that chaos is actually internal. It's the panic, the fear reaction that's distorting the facts that are reflected back.
So the reflection itself becomes unreliable.
Exactly. Simply because the inner disturbance has kind of fractured the image of the truth being shown.
Okay, let's unpack this conflict a bit, because our usual way of thinking, our common sense tells us, get more money, and then you'll find peace, and you'll get that stillness.
The typical approach.
But this deeper insight flips it. It suggests inner peace is actually the prerequisite, the foundation. That allows money to flow with clarity, with purpose. Why is that distinction so vital?
Because it fundamentally changes money's role in our lives. You see, when you're rooted in a sense of your own inherent worth, money is just, it's a functional tool.
Like a hammer.
Sort of, yeah. A vehicle for value, maybe creativity, connection. But, and this is the key, if you lack that inner grounding, that sense of worth, money instantly becomes a battlefield.
A battlefield.
Every transaction, every time you check your account, it gets experienced as a kind of test. A test of your personal value, a verdict on whether you're truly worthy of what you want or need.
And we see this playing out all around us, don't we? I mean, you can think of someone earning a huge amount, 7 figures, but they still hoard it, they overwork constantly, they live in this chronic fear of losing it all.
Yes, the money didn't fix the underlying feeling.
It didn't touch their sense of unworthiness.
In fact, their wealth often just amplifies that fear. Now compare that person to someone who maybe earns a much more modest income, but they live with this genuine sense of sufficiency, of trust. They kind of radiate abundance simply because they are rooted in that inner peace. Their relationship with money is different. It's about stewardship, alignment, not just survival.
So the core issue then is what we've forgotten about ourselves. This sounds like that idea you mentioned. Avijja, deep forgetting.
Yes, that's a good way to put it, avijja. Ignorance or deep forgetting. We forget that our worth isn't conditional. It isn't something you earn or measure or that depends on external stuff.
Right.
And that insight, just the simple idea that you are worthy before any money comes into the picture, that feels truly revolutionary, especially today.
It feels revolutionary because, our whole culture seems built on the opposite idea, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We're just conditioned constantly to equate success, self-value with net worth. We absorb this message so deeply we don't even notice it anymore.
Mhm.
So when money gets tight, we don't just feel, restricted financially. We feel fundamentally less than.
Hmm.
Our financial reality becomes the echo of that insecurity. It's not the root cause itself.
Okay, wow. That reframes money completely then. It stops being this measure of success and it starts acting more like a spiritual diagnostic tool.
That's a perfect way to describe it. Like a fever that reveals an inner infection.
So if I'm spending impulsively, maybe it's not just bad budgeting. Maybe it's me trying to fill some kind of emotional void.
Precisely. Or if you cling obsessively to every penny, perhaps you're wrestling with a deep-seated fear of abandonment or scarcity.
And that's why understanding the diagnosis is so important. If you find yourself avoiding opening your bank statements or hiding finances from a partner, the root isn't just the numbers on the page, it's probably the shame that's gotten tangled up with those numbers.
Exactly. And underneath all these patterns, you often find the core engine driving the insecurity, which is tana, craving.
Craving, right. That restless neediness, that searching for fulfillment outside ourselves.
Yes, that thirst. We desperately want money to prove something for us. Maybe
Yeah.
safety, maybe worth, maybe that we're finally in control.
But money can't actually deliver that, can it? Because it's external and it's always changing. Annika.
Right.
Impermanent.
It can never deliver that deep, lasting fulfillment we crave. The goalpost always shifts. You get the raise, then you need the bigger house. We're basically trying to use a fluctuating external thing to fix a deep internal sense of not enoughness. And when this core insecurity is driving the bus, it tends to wear three common disguises in our financial lives.
Okay, let's pull off these masks because I think these patterns are incredibly common. The first one, the over-earner. This is the person relentlessly chasing milestones, right? Believing just one more zero in the bank account, then they'll finally feel secure.
Yes. They're driven by this deep need to essentially earn their right to exist.
Wow.
In Buddhist terms, they are craving to become something more, something solidified bhavatana. But the paradox here connects to the idea of anatta, or not self.
Not so. Okay, how does that fit in?
Well, anatta suggests that you are not a fixed, solid entity. You're more like a flowing, dynamic process, like a river. So you can't actually accumulate enough external wealth to finally prove or solidify your worth, because the very act of grasping and trying to make the self permanent through external things, it goes against the nature of reality.
You can't dam a river.
And still expect it to flow healthily.
Yeah, exactly.
You create stagnation.
That's quite deep. Can you ground that a bit more for someone who's maybe just struggling to pay the mortgage? How does not self connect to their everyday financial stress?
It connects directly to their sense of identity. The over-earner, for instance, might unconsciously believe they are their 401k balance.
Right.
So if the market dips, their sense of self-worth dips right along with it. But the moment they start to realize, truly realize, that they are not the contents of their wallet or their portfolio,
Yeah.
that they are the awareness watching those contents change, that awareness is stable, then the anxiety starts to loosen its grip. They can then act strategically, thoughtfully about their finances rather than reactively or frantically, because their core identity isn't actually threatened by the market's ups and downs. It's safe.
That really does shift the ground beneath your feet. Okay, mask number 2, the self-saboteur. This is the person who gets so close to success, maybe a big promotion, a great contract, and then somehow they blow it. Make a reckless move, miss a crucial deadline, pick a fight they didn't need to.
Yes, and underneath that pattern, there's often this quiet but incredibly powerful belief humming away. If I actually succeed, people will see I'm a fraud. Or maybe I don't really deserve this good fortune.
Right.
Now, this often gets dressed up as humility or maybe just bad luck, but from this perspective, it can actually be seen as a form of mana, conceit.
Wait, conceit. But it feels like the opposite, like
Yeah.
conceit of inferiority. That sounds like a contradiction.
It does, but think about what mana or conceit really is. It's fundamentally the mechanism of comparison, making the self real by comparing it to others. Whether you're comparing yourself upwards, I'm better than them, or downwards, I'm so much worse than everyone, you're still creating and maintaining this distorted, isolated sense of self based on some imagined standard.
So the saboteur.
The saboteur unconsciously believes they must live down to their low self-image, because the alternative, succeeding and then being exposed as not good enough, feels catastrophic. So they cling to the identity of the inadequate person, which in a way is just as much an act of ego, of solidifying a self, as clinging to the identity of being a genius.
Oh, wow. Okay, that sheds a whole new light on that pattern.
Yeah.
So powerful. All right, the third mask, the spiritual avoider. This is the person who dismisses money, right?
Huh.
Calls it low vibration or too materialistic. They use the language of detachment.
Yes, but often that detachment is really just fear wearing a spiritual disguise.
Ah.
They're clinging tightly to the identity of being the one who doesn't care about money. Why? To protect themselves from the vulnerability of actually wanting something, needing something, and possibly failing to get it.
So it's not true non-attachment.
No. True non-attachment means you can hold money lightly. You can use it wisely, ethically, and you can let it go when necessary without your world collapsing. Avoidance, on the other hand, is just another form of rigid clinging. It's clinging to a particular self-image, a spiritualized identity that actually rejects engaging with a fundamental aspect of reality. True wisdom requires us to engage skillfully with reality, not run away from it.
Okay, so if these financial patterns, the over-earning, the sabotage, the avoidance, if they're driven by these really deep insecurities, these old stories, then the solution can't just be, a better spreadsheet or a budget app.
It really can't. Those tools might help manage symptoms, but they don't touch the root cause. The path forward isn't about fighting the patterns head on or just chanting positive affirmations hoping they'll stick. The real solution starts with seeing them clearly.
Seeing them.
Yes, seeing them through the clear light of mindfulness, vipassana. It's about observing the fear, observing the craving, but without identifying with them.
So not trying to suppress the fear of poverty.
No, not suppressing, just noticing. Okay, here's that familiar sensation of fear tightening in my stomach. Or, there's that thought pattern about scarcity again. In that simple, non-judgmental recognition, their grip starts to loosen. Their power begins to dissolve because you're not feeding them with belief.
And to make this really practical, really actionable, the wisdom suggests a beautifully simple tool, the Money Journal of Awareness.
Yes. And the key is, this isn't about judgment. It's about gathering data points on your own inner world.
How does it work?
It's very simple. Just take 5 minutes each evening, jot down 3 things. First, one financial decision you made today. Could be tiny, like buying coffee, or big. Second, the main emotion that went along with that decision. Guilt, relief, anxiety, joy. And third, try to identify the underlying belief that might have been driving that decision and emotion.
Could you give us maybe a couple of contrasting examples just to see how it illuminates things?
Sure, someone might rate, decision. I skipped buying that book I really wanted. Emotion. Felt guilty, then kind of resentful towards myself. Belief. Maybe something like, I don't deserve nice things unless I've really earned them through struggle or hardship.
Ah, okay. That reveals a pattern of self-punishment, maybe.
Exactly. Or a contrasting one. Decision. Bought 3 lottery tickets on the way home from work. Emotion. A flicker of hope, but mostly anxiety underneath. Belief. Perhaps I need some sudden external rescue because I don't trust my own ability to create stability.
Right.
Over time, just tracking this, the patterns become undeniable. Awareness itself starts to create choice, where before there was just automatic reaction. You begin to break that unconscious loop.
Linking the unconscious, conscious. Okay, so once we start building that awareness, what's the next step? What's the proactive antidote to that deep insecurity? The wisdom seems to really emphasize, Donna, generosity.
Yes, Dana is incredibly powerful here. It acts as a direct antidote to the feeling of scarcity. Why? Because the very act of giving immediately breaks the illusion that we're separate, isolated units who must hoard everything to survive.
How so?
Through the action itself, you affirm, I have enough right now, enough to share. It directly counters that tight, fearful scarcity mindset. But, and this nuance is absolutely critical, you must give from a place of inner overflow, from a sense of fullness, however modest, not from a sense of obligation or depletion or self-sacrifice.
Because if I give feeling resentful or like I'm losing something vital, I'm just reinforcing my own story of lack.
Precisely. You're giving from lack, which breeds more lack. True generosity, Donna, actually opens the heart. It affirms that your well-being is interconnected with the well-being of others. And this doesn't have to be just money. It can be giving your time, your focused attention, your skills.
How might that look in a modern context in our economy?
Well, does generosity mean paying your employees a truly fair living wage, even if the absolute market minimum is lower? Does it mean consciously choosing to support businesses that operate ethically, using your purchasing power as a form of dana? These are practical applications.
And that connects directly to another key idea, doesn't it? Samol Ajiva, right livelihood.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right livelihood asks us to really examine our work. Does it honor our humanity? Does it align with our deeper values? Or are we compromising something essential?
So many people feel trapped in jobs that,
Yeah.
well, that feel soul-crushing,
Yeah.
but they stay because they're driven purely by the fear of losing that security, that paycheck.
And that fear is, again, insecurity speaking loudest. The practice of right livelihood involves cultivating the courage to prioritize value alignment, even when fear is screaming about security. It's the growing realization that if your job demands you betray your core sense of integrity every single day, then even a high salary might represent a net loss in true well-being. As you begin to heal that inner sense of worth, you naturally gain the courage to maybe negotiate for fairer conditions or seek work that feels more authentic, or even walk away when something is truly toxic. The core insight holds true. Money just amplifies who you already are, peaceful or fearful.
Which brings us towards the, I guess, the ultimate liberation here. That moment when we stop seeing money as this judge delivered a verdict on our worth.
Yes.
And instead start seeing it maybe as a sacred tool, an instrument for awakening, driven by prajna, that wisdom that comes from direct lived experience.
That's the threshold, the point where looking in the mirror stops being quite so frightening. And that liberation, that shift, it really begins with one single, truly revolutionary act.
Which is?
Self-compassion, metta. Kindness towards oneself. We simply cannot heal financial shame and fear through more self-criticism or judgment. The only way out is through kindness.
It's about breaking that cycle of self-abandonment that often gets triggered by financial anxiety, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when that panic hits the fear about bills, the market drop, perhaps the simplest, most powerful thing to do is just place a hand on your own heart and whisper, internally or out loud, "It's okay. I'm here with you. I'm not leaving."
That simple gesture.
That presence, that self-kindness, maybe that is the core of real financial maturity, making decisions from that place of presence, not from panic.
And this leads to a complete reframing of abundance itself. You know, in the usual commercial sense, abundance just means having more and more stuff, more money.
Right, accumulation.
But in this deeper context, true abundance is actually freedom from craving. It's the quiet joy that arises from recognizing enough.
No.
It's found in the quality of attention we bring to ordinary moments, the warmth of a simple meal, the silence between sounds, the shared laughter with a friend. These become the real currencies of a rich life.
And interestingly, when you cultivate that inner sense of sufficiency, that feeling of enough, often outer resources do seem to flow more easily, not because you demanded them maybe, but because you stopped vibrating at that frequency of lack.
That inner shift is the deepest kind of karma. It's cause and effect operating first at the level of the mind, which then inevitably ripples outwards and shapes our external reality.
So the path really starts not with crunching the budget numbers, but with questioning the underlying beliefs.
You have to gently, kindly interrogate those old stories you carry about your own value, about scarcity, about what you deserve.
Which leads us to a final challenge, perhaps, for you listening this week. We invite you to just sit quietly with these questions. What might you do differently, maybe even today, if you knew deep down that you were inherently worthy, completely regardless of your bank account? How would you choose to spend your precious energy if you genuinely trusted life to support your essential needs? And what gifts would you feel moved to offer the world if you weren't held back by the fear of failing or not being good enough?
Because the ultimate aim here, really, isn't about trying to become someone who finally has enough money. It's about remembering that you are already someone who is inherently whole, complete. Money then becomes just part of the path, a messenger. Sometimes a challenging one, yes, but potentially a friend that can guide you back to that forgotten truth of your own wholeness.
Just take a breath. Find that place of inner calm. Even for a moment, you are enough. You always were. And from that simple, powerful truth, everything else can begin to flow.